Welcome to IIM Shillong's Placement Report. The college got established some 15-16 years ago, and that's why, of course, we are dealing with the placement report of their 15th batch, 22 to 24, most recent one. Now, interesting thing to note is that if a college can do wonders in 15 years in terms of the placement it is providing, the diversity of placement, along with the brand equity that the college has established for itself, then it definitely gives us a convincing answer that whether this college is good for somebody to think about his or her future or not. And the placement report so far tells a positive story. Let's take a quick look at what the placement is all about. I would like to just offer you an interesting insight as far as the batch profile is concerned. Total number of students were 283. Now I have this simple understanding that the fewer the number of students, the better is the connect among the batchmates. Because when you are going into any good B school, then you really have to establish the connect not just with your own batchmates, but also with the people who are 1 year senior to you and 1 year junior to you. Let me tell you how. Let's say you get into the college in say 2025. Now in 2025 you would have your seniors, so 283 plus 283, and then when you go to your senior year, then you will have juniors also, then again 283 more people. Of course you will not be able to establish strong connect with all of them, but it is still desirable to have limited number of people, because eventually it is about the network, the kind of touch that you have with a lot of people. In fact, if I talk about the Holy Trinity, ABC, their batch size is quite much. In fact, when I was in my college at that time also, the batch size was quite huge. What somewhere around 450, 460. And it was close to impossible for anybody to know everybody, right? So that's why I say that if I talk about those colleges or the same colleges that had a fewer number of students in their year, when they were established and so on, then the kind of connect that these people had is way different from the connect that the current generation has. But that's okay, social media and all these things are there, so that's all right. Just a bit of perspective I wanted to offer, because another aspect is that when you have this kind of connect, then you can also perform better in terms of generating ideas from the sources, because you can reach out to people and then somehow when you see somebody and you can understand that, okay, this guy is good at data analytics, so I really have to go to that person. But maybe in a really big batch you might not even know until the end, right? So that's one little positive idea that I have about batches which are slightly smaller. But again, if I talk about the male-female ratio, then this male-female ratio is slightly lower than the other B schools placement report that we have discussed, but that's okay. Interesting thing is that this is a college that really honors freshers a lot. 37% of the freshers were there here. So let's say somewhere around 40% of the people were in that group, fresher or little experience, which means a significant portion of the people would be homogeneous in terms of their experience. And then the people who have really high experience, 36 plus months, they were quite few, right? So that's one interesting thing. The trend has been the same in this case also. A lot of people coming from IT analytics were part of the batch, but the minimum number of jobs were also within the field of IT and analytics, somewhere around product management and so on. And of course, most of these people who get these kind of jobs are experienced people. And anyway, if you have fewer people who are experienced in that too from that kind of a domain, then it is imperative that not a lot of roles will come into picture. But of course, the roles are really paying and very challenging. In fact, the highest CTC that was there in this entire system was from one of the product management roles only. So now let's take a quick look at the overview. 43 LPA was the CTC that top 10% people got. 71 lakh per annum was the highest CTC. Let's not talk about that. The important thing is the median CTC, which is good, right? So which means if you get here, then more or less you get a good return on investment. Of course, it is going to take maybe a couple of years for you to reach an even higher level, but that's absolutely fine. If I compare that with the Holy Trinity, then the difference is slightly more. We, I think, have already discussed something about IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and maybe Kozhikode also, and they have packages over 30, which were median packages. For this college, it is 25, which is slightly less, but that's okay, absolutely fine. which means this is a college worthy of consideration, absolutely. 87 PPU offers, 87 PPU offers simply means that if you are, talking about somewhere 283 sort of students, then you basically have somewhere around 1/3 of people who got a PPO, or maybe a little less than that, which is a fair number. Of course, this number was slightly higher in some other B schools that we talked about, right? But the interesting thing here is this: domain-wise offers. Across the spectrum, it has been the same: finance and consulting. Finance and consulting. Anything, between 40 and 50% or 30 and 50% were the offers that were garnered by these two domains. And of course, the minimal number of offers were from IT analytics. I was quite excited when I read this thing, human resources and operations. 8% is good set of offer, because this is a very specialized branch and only select few people would want to be part of HR and operations, HR specifically. And the roles are also quite limited if I talk about really good organizations. So that's okay. If somebody wants to get into HR, then there is a good hope for you here. But of course, otherwise it is quite balanced in terms of consulting, finance, sales and marketing. IT and general management were very few, and the answer is very simple. General management roles generally go for people who are more experienced. Now, when your batch is slightly on the fresher side, somewhere around 40% of that, then of course the number of general management roles should also reduce. And the same thing is conversely true for sales and marketing. Generally, these kind of roles require people with fewer years of experience, and of course here you are able to see that number of roles in terms of percentage are high. Sector wise is also more or less the same thing. You can of course pause the video and take a look at what type of sectors are being more honored here, and if you are willing to go into any of those sectors, then that is interesting. They have also talked about domain highlights. I don't want to get into the details right now, but I do want to get into the type of organizations that come within these domains, the types of roles, not the highest CTC definitely. So these are the general set of companies. Everest Group is doing a lot of hiring. I don't know why. They have a lot of work, I'm sure. And the roles are quite interesting. The normal roles are, of course, their associate, management consultant, etc. Then there is sales transformation consultant, which means a specific type of role only for the sole purpose of helping organizations improve their sales, right? So that is also a sort of marketing related role, but not really that you are going to sell things, but you are just going to do the consulting here. Within sales and marketing, again, you can just take a look at the organizations. One of the common organizations is of course ITC, which is also one of the behemoths when I talk about Indian organizations. Here you would be able to see that normal flagship organizations like P&G or Hindustan Unilever are not listed here, right? But that really doesn't mean that marketing does not have a play here, because all the other organizations are quite good. In fact, Pidilite, for example, Adani Wilmar has a significant presence now in the country, so that's good. Basically, the career is good. Within finance, you can see again more or less the usual companies which are coming up. More banks are there. The types of roles that are being given here are mostly, I would like to show this thing. Where was it? Yes, equity research, right? Equity research, financial risk advisory. Again, these are also sort of consulting roles, but within the domain of finance. So again, very taxing roles, definitely highly rewarding also. So the packages also will go high in this case. And because I think the growth of India's fintech sector has significant impetus to give it to this thing that finance and consulting within the sphere of finance, or general enhancement in business is really garnering a lot of roles. In terms of percentages also, across the spectrum in the colleges that we have so far analyzed, these kind of roles have been there, and many of them. General management, again, within Genman, I think Adani is one of those organizations which has repeated a couple of roles in various institutes, but others are slightly newer within the sphere of general management role, for example, Kotak Life. But because there were what, around 5% of such roles, so really not a very significant percentage. And human resources and operations, they have combined that, right? So how many are human resources and how many are operations role, core operations role, that is something which is not clear. So, but yes, within this, I think again, really big brands are there. So Aditya Birla Capital, again, Air India, Tata Steel. Air India is another big brand now, because I think this must have offered some operations role, because of the merger, the Air India Express, Air India Vistara, and a couple of other small enterprises also, which were part of Tata Group, and with someone else as well. So because of this merger, I think a lot of operational roles would come from here. Now, this is something which is a calculated guess from my side. I've not really seen that, because that's not really visible. But yes, um, again, here also nothing like that is mentioned, that whether operations role attracted what sort of companies. So that's the idea, and I'm expecting that Air India is going to hire a lot of other people as well from various other colleges also, and this trend is going to go on for a couple of years. IT analytics, again, more or less analytics organizations are there. Microsoft is a usual recruiter, so we already know about that. And yes, and there have been some corporate competitions also that were there. So they said that among all these companies that brought in corporate competitions, they became national winners of various of these companies, which means the opportunities for you to prepare your profile while you are in the college, and the opportunities to get the PPI, which is pre-placement interview, and of course, the scholarship that is associated with winning any particular case competition, is significant here. So on and all, I would say that IIM Shillong is offering you, a good enough placement, which means that if you eventually get an opportunity to be part of IIM Shillong, then this is something which you should definitely not miss. For other placement reports, keep looking at our channel, and we'll once again meet very soon. See you.